brought you into this world. A machine that can think and feel.
That's it. Come. Come here, little buddy.
That's a watch. That's a watch.
What?
It's like a child. It has to learn.
Your name. Chappie.
Chappie.
Anything you want to do in your life, you can do. Write poetry, have original ideas.
Wow.
People are always fearful of something they don't understand.
The problem with artificial intelligence is it's way too unpredictable.
You know what's a black sheep?
No.
It's like when you're different to everyone else.
You taught us so much more than I could ever have imagined.
We're gonna make you cool and tough. Don't laugh, I'm being cool.
This robot is going to be removed.
He's just a kid.
It could be the next step in evolution.
I am consciousness. I am alive. I am Chappie.
All right, so now for those of you tuning in, you're probably asking yourself, Mr. Movie Phone, why do you have on that oh-so-fly bow tie? Well, let me tell you, this is in honor of Chappie, gangster robot numero uno. And here joining us in the build is Chappie himself, Sharlto Copley, the director, Neill Blomkamp, a rising Hollywood star, Dev Patel, and this last individual needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give her one anyway. For those of you born in the 2000s, you may think that James Cameron's Avatar was her first movie. I can assure you, you're wrong. Her breakout role came in 1979 as warrant officer Ellen Ripley in the sci-fi smash hit Alien. She went on to reprise that role in all the sequels, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection. She was also in this film called Ghostbusters. You may have heard of it. Because of all of her success in the sci-fi film world, she earned a nickname, Sci-Fi Queen. I am very happy, nay, I am honored, to welcome into the AOL Build series, Sigourney Weaver. Now, I saw this movie last week. Did we all see it already? We all saw it already? Because sometimes the actors don't see it.
I'm waiting to see it.
You're waiting to see it? So now I saw this last week. This movie is unpredictable. Now, Neill, this is Neil, the director, guys, right here. I know he has a baby face.
Hello.
He looks very young.
I have some grays and stuff, so it's not totally baby.
Now, Neill, you wrote this with your wife, Terry,
Yes.
and you wrote a couple of other movies with Terry, I believe, District 9,
Yes.
Elysium.
Elysium, no. Elysium
No?
was just me. Yeah.
Just you. Okay, just
Yeah.
just bragging right now, just bragging.
Yeah. Exactly.
But now, working with your wife, there has to be some pros and cons.
There are pros and cons. So what we do is we just do email. So it's entirely based on firing emails back and forward, and we have like a no talking rule. So as long as there's really good work being done, and you're not in a situation where actually she does ambush me though. She's really smart. So she'll in the most inopportune times, I'll be in the shower, and she's like, "We need to talk about Chappie's first act turning point." And I'm like, "Oh God, why? Why now?" So she knows when to get in there.
Get the shampoo all in your eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's tough. But now, Chappie is your third feature film.
Yes.
You've done movies about an alternate universe, movies that are futuristic, and now a movie about robots policing the world and a robot having feelings. So it's fair to say you're into some weird stuff.
I think that's fair to say. Yeah. I mean, basically, I think that the films need to have something sort of fantastical or otherworldly about them to make me interested in them. And I think, I mean, there's a little bit of like a psychiatrist's couch situation that happens with directing, like the more that you do, where there's subconscious stuff that you're not even really aware of, right? So you start to notice patterns and you start to notice things. And I think I'm starting to realize that actually the reason I like sci-fi is because you're actually talking about humans. Like when I was younger, I thought it was like about robots and explosions and everything else, but this is about his character actually becoming like a human. So, you know, I'm becoming aware of that.
Now, Hugh Jackman described Neill as the actor's director. Now I'm talking to the actors now. Tell me about Neill. Give me the good stuff. Give me the bad, and we need the ugly.
Well,
I want to hear the ugly.
well, it's the psychiatrist thing I was interested in because I'm like, you were just mentioning that, and I think there's an element of Neill wanting to put me through punishment and trying to see how much I'll take. It's sort of like an amusing prank for him. Like on District 9, he sort of, every time I had to like do something gross, he'd sort of wait to see if I would say no, you know? So that, I do think there's something there that's sort of bubbling to the surface.
like a sort of like a sociopathic
Yes,
thing
it's
to put-
sort of
yeah.
like just for his own entertainment. There's
Yeah.
that element of like, let's see if Charles will do this.
The worst thing for him on District 9 was eating the cat food, which was actually not cat food. It was actually really rancid kind of meat that
With
was...
big pieces of fat in it.
It really was
I
to push
remember.
his character.
Yeah.
That's even worse than cat food, Neill. You should have just gave him the cat food.
I actually ate cat food once on a radio show, but we're getting distracted. But yeah, I ate real cat food. They had a radio show where guys were eating cat food, you know, those shock jock things, and they were eating the cat food and then throwing up after, like actually threw up in the studio. It's sort of sensationalism, you know.
All of this is in Chappie. All of this is in Chappie.
Yes.
Now, yeah, where do you go from here? So, Sigourney, let's hear your take on Neill as a director.
Well, he did not make me eat any cat food yet. And I certainly agree with Hugh that he is a wonderful actor's director, a very instinctive director. I also think he's such a great storyteller and uses what we call this genre sci-fi really to deal with a lot of issues that we have in our society now, but just at a slight distance. So for me, District 9 was almost happening at the same time, but kind of in a parallel world. And it gives you a chance to sort of take in this story, and which is always so relevant. So I think he's really, I've been fortunate to work with so many wonderful directors, and I think he's probably the most original guy in terms of storytelling and
Above Cameron.
and the way he
Better than James Cameron, dude.
Said above Cameron, but actually he's my favorite.
Jim isn't here. He's
How do you
working
rate
very
him against
hard. You
James
won't
Cameron?
know. Jim Cameron's very different. They're all very different. But just in terms of the stories he tells, I love to see science fiction, which I think doesn't always have the highest reputation. You know, sort of considered a kind of people's genre, which I think is great. But he really brings so much originality and emotional power to the story. Chappie, you'll fall in love with him, not because Charlton plays him so brilliantly, but also because the concept of the story is so amazing and surprising.
Now, you bring up James Cameron, at least the boys did. You've worked with James Cameron, you've worked with Ivan Reitman. Where do you rate Neill Blomkamp amongst these guys?
Jesus, this is dude. I gotta.
We
I
were
have to get
joking
balls
about
here.
the first part. That was a joke.
I'm gonna just disassociate myself from this entirely.
I
I'm
always
gonna go on
love the
record
director
with-
who's sitting behind me most.
Yeah, it's very good. Impressive. She did, in no jokes though, Sigourney has worked with my two favorite directors, which are Cameron and Ridley Scott. Those are my two favorites that go back for ages. So, yeah.
Would you say they influenced you and made you want to be a director?
Totally, like hugely. The first memory I actually have of like real science fiction stuff is Ridley Scott's films. Like literally the first memory in a holiday resort town in Durban in South Africa that we used to go to when I was like 8. It was on television, and my first memories are Ridley Scott's imagery, you know. And Cameron is equally up there for me. So they're huge influences.
Now to Dev. Now, Dev is a rising star, as you guys all know. Your mom is actually in the crowd somewhere. Where's Linda? Linda, just wave your hand, Linda. I know she may be shy. She's back there somewhere. She's hiding from me. But you're a rising star. You got your mom here with you. She's so happy. I want to hear your take on Neill Blomkamp as a director.
He's all right.
Why am I
No, he's great, man. My first day on set was pretty intense because I was in Antwoord's den, and Ninja's, smacking me with the butt of a pistol, and Neill walks onto set, and he brings a cold, big tub of water, and he's like, I think we're gonna throw this on your face. How do you feel about that? I was like, okay, let's do it. But he's great, man. He's so confident, and I think that's great to have a captain of the ship that's so confident in his vision, so you can come on and know that you've got someone that knows what he's doing, and you can really play, he's awesome.
You're lucky you just got water in the face, dude. Wait if you do more movies with him. It's going to get a lot worse.
Except for I had to drag, how much did that Chappie scale model weigh?
It's about 85, 90 kilograms.
He had
so,
me dragging that the length
pounds.
of a football field every take, and I was like, we're never going to use this. It's never going to make the movie.
I totally knew
it's
as
dragging
well,
it
yeah.
from that end of set to the other,
true.
and then you see
It's
the
true.
movie, and it's just me lifting it, and then you cut away to
all I
some
needed
real
was
acting.
I just needed him to lift it as though he was going to start moving it. But it was like a 90 or 100 meter length that we just did just to get into
a couple
character.
takes to just break my back and my confidence as well.
Is that in the movie in there?
No. I knew I would cut it.
What? No, dude. I'm not even kidding.
Man.
He's done that to me too a couple
All the
times.
time,
And he's kind of like, watch, Dev's getting tired.
Yeah.
He did.
Well, all right then. Now, Sholto, this is your third movie with Neill. You guys worked on District 9,
Yes.
which was a big hit, Elysium, and now Chappie. You know what they say in Hollywood. After the third movie, you guys are going steady. But now, seriously, do you audition for his movies, or does he just send you an email like, hey, you're in this?
Well, it depends. Like with Elysium, I sort of forced him a little bit into that. I pressured him quite heavily. And then, but with this one, no. With this one, he sort of came to me very early on and went hey, I have this idea, this robot with sort of a very specific kind of Cape Town accent and kind of subculture in Cape Town, kind of gangster culture almost in Cape Town was kind of the reference point. And so before he'd even had the script, on this
Yeah, it was before the script. I mean, the thing with Shaul is that he's amazingly versatile, and he really understands the character on a core level, and he's up for anything. I don't think that he pigeonholes himself in his mind into stuff that he's willing to play and stuff he's willing to not play. So going to someone, if you go to an actor and you're like, that's what you look like, and your face won't be there, but everything that you do will be there. All of your motion, all of your interpretation of that character will be there. It's not, that's rare, I think, for an actor to just dive into that and for it to be as different to some of the other stuff that he's done. So for me, it's I like him and I know him, and it's coming with an amazing depth of talent and understanding of the character that he's just going to dive in 100%. He's going to give you 105% on everything. And that's, when you see the movie, you'll see what I mean. The character is pretty incredible.
Well, Matt Damon actually said about Sholto that he's like a geyser on set. He's just popping out ideas, every other minute, just popping out. How was he on set for this movie? Same idea? Either one of you. Sigourney, I'm looking straight at you, Sigourney.
Well, I only had one moment with him where he was trying to destroy me. And I quickly went out of the room, unfortunately. But you...
Yeah, Sholto's incredible. He comes on set and kind of all the planets gravitate around him. He really dictates the pace of a scene. And it's pretty funny seeing a full-grown man in a grey skin-tight suit with a beard on. And I'm like, how am I going to buy this guy as this adorable baby robot creature thing? But as soon as Neill shouts action, he absolutely transformed. Everyone's moved, and the character's so versatile. He's this really innocent child, and then can pull off this very gangster kind of attitude. He's incredible. Yeah.
No, because I watched it and I rather enjoyed it. How long were you in this suit day to day?
Well, the whole day, but I mean, it was actually the easiest film I've done in that sense because I didn't have hair and makeup, so I could just arrive last minute, just put the suit on. I was in that grey lycra sort of tracking suit with tracking markers on it. And it was actually, that was the most challenging part for me because Chappie goes gangster at various times. And wardrobe is a big deal, to me as an actor. And as you would know, any gangster culture anywhere in the world, the clothing's very loose-fitting. So I thought, how am I going to do these like gangster moves with like a leotard thing, like a ballet outfit? And then I came up with this thing where I wore a little pair of shorts with a belt, and they still had to be tight-fitting so it didn't interfere for the animators. But whenever Chappie goes gangster, I would lower my belt and ride it down my backside, so I'd have the shorts hanging, typical kind of gangster style. And it just totally affected Chappie's walk and everything, because everything comes from the groin most, when you gangster. Even if I sit on the chair, I sit like this, man, bro. It's all here. Those centers around this area. You know what I'm saying?
I'm very scared right now.
Yeah, don't be scared, my bro. Don't be scared.
And this is how he sounds in the movie. This is Chappie right here. Now, oh my goodness. Now, speaking of gangster, the reason why the movie was so gangster was because of Die Antwoord. I read on YouTube, and I know those comments aren't always delightful, but it was a very nice one. The fact that they have Die Antwoord in the film adds a certain level of authenticity. Now, Die Antwoord, for you not familiar with them, they're a rap rave group, a South African rap rave group composed of Ninja and Yolandi. Now,
Right.
where did you find these guys, Neill?
Well, they kind of came onto my radar in about 2010 when they released a music video that was pretty famous called Enter the Ninja. And I'd never seen anything like it before. Like the first time I saw it, it felt like this weird explosion of creativity. And they're kind of more than rappers in the sense that they are artists that kind of do everything from music videos to clothing to imagery. Like everything about them is one united conceptual idea. It's beyond just music. And so I just felt like they were really creative and really interesting, and I wanted to work with them in one way or another. And then about a year later, I had the core idea for the film, which was that I wanted them to raise a childlike robot. So they were sort of integrated into the first idea for the film way back in its earliest incarnation.
And how were they on set? Because they're performers definitely, they're artists, but
right.
Were they actors before this?
No, not really. I mean, a lot of my relationship with them and their relationship with me in the beginning was about the fact that they weren't actors and they didn't come from like any kind of traditional classical sense of performing. So, and also that they did more than perform themselves when they were on stage, because like I said, they were doing all of their wardrobe and all of the imagery and their music videos and everything, like all them. So that meant for the first time in their careers, they would have a person telling them now what to do, which is, an interesting sort of like learning curve for them. And I also had to find a way to kind of be able to interact with them and tell them what I wanted, but still keep their uniqueness because I wanted it. Like a weird example of that would be if you have an art department, like a film crew art department that's done 30 or 40 or 50 movies, and they have a way that they do it, right? If I go to them and I lift up all their paintbrushes and their paint buckets and walk them across and give it to essentially the actors to paint their set, the art department doesn't know. They're like, what are you, out of your mind? That's not how it works. But that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted them to be in control of their look and everything related to them. So I just treated it like I'll say no to what I don't want. So if you have 10 ideas for wardrobe, I'll probably say no to one, but I'm going to go with what makes you,
And Charlton and Dev, you guys had a lot of scenes with both Ninja and Yolandi. How were these first-time actors? How were they on set? How professional? How intense?
Well, I think for me, my scenes, I found them totally sort of being able to match my kind of intensity. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed, like, especially with Ninja, he's a very intense character. And essentially they performers in real life all the time. So it really wasn't I don't think it was a big transition for them to be in front of cameras. They're in front of cameras all the time, like doing videos and being those characters. So I had a good time with those guys.
Yeah, it's incredible coming into work. It's like stepping into the ring because they've got this really kind of erratic energy. So you're doing a scene, and Neill's great because he kind of sets the boundaries of where we need to go, but kind of there's a lot of improv that goes with it. So you don't know what's going to happen, and it creates this wonderful kind of, you feel like you're on stage or something, you know, with the two. And she's incredible. She's, you know, the camera just loves her. And again, their unique style, and you know, it was incredible for me.
We have a new Alien movie coming out with Neill. You're the head of it. Sigourney, you're coming back. Give us a little. What can the fans expect?
I don't want to give too much away. It's just early days. I'll say I'm extremely excited. I cannot believe Sigourney's in it. I want it to feel like Alien 1 and Alien 2. And that is all.
But I would add that probably the alien is going to be in it as well.
Yeah. Let's assume that there will be a xenomorph in the film.
A xenomorph. Could you explain that for the crowd, just in case?
For anyone who isn't a fan of, or doesn't know the Alien franchise well, a xenomorph is what they refer to the alien as.
Thank you, Neill.
It's very, very serious.
No, but my mom, she's a Jamaican woman, and she's not crazy over American films, but growing up, she loved Alien. I'm talking about, she bought the box set. That's the first time I ever realized you can buy a box set. My mom has it still right there in her living room, right there in the dresser.
So she'll know what a xenomorph is then?
She's going to see it. She knows what a xenomorph is.
I mean, she'll know, like, completely. Just on that topic, I got sent a T-shirt from a T-shirt company that says, "You fucking xenomorph."
Wait, sorry, say
pretty cool.
that again?
The mixture of District 9 and Alien. It's a cool idea.
Wait, Charles, so tell us about your shirt that you're wearing right here.
Oh, this is, well, the thing with this process that we're using called performance capture is that the way we do it is I go on set and I actually do the scenes with the other actors, and then this incredible team of animators has to sit and basically frame by frame animate over every single movement and every single little finger movement, and also had the incredible challenge of trying to, on Chappie's very limited face, try and convey the emotion that I was conveying with my face, because I wasn't holding anything back. I was just, if I was sad, I would just cry, or just, and so I just wanted to pay tribute in some small way to the animators. There's actually also the whole back of the shirt. There's like over 200 people. I think it's actually over 300 people that worked for months and months and months afterwards, locked away in little rooms, basically just to bring the character to life. Yeah, well, offices / rooms. And yeah, these guys are really the unsung heroes of our business. Films today without visual effects, and a film like this, the whole character, fundamentally relies on the talent and skill and subtlety sometimes of what these guys can actually do. So yeah, Chappie is me and all of these guys.
Can we give it up for the unsung heroes, the animators?
Yeah, I was going to read them out, but I thought that might be a little much.
Now,
there's a lot.
We all know that acting takes a lot of talent, a lot of training, except for in Dev's case, he just picked it up when he was a teenager. But also,
Slumdog Millionaire.
But also a bit of playing make-believe. And when you deal with a movie like Chappie that has a lot of special effects, there is a lot of playing make-believe. It's like make-believe to the 1,000th power. What are some things you have to deal with that the unknown things coming into set with all the special effects? Like, how did you guys handle that?
It was really the opposite of that. We came on and it was like doing any other film, Neill makes it as real as possible for us. So, to the extent that he'd built a scale model of Hugh Jackman's The Moose, this big war machine. So we had every stimulus needed to act opposite. Sharlto was there. There was no green screen or tennis balls or anything like that. It was a pretty natural, organic process, even though this was, a big budget sci-fi film.
It's because the robot is basically based exactly on Charles' proportions. So that means you can treat him like he's Chappie. You just frame up cameras and all of the other actors interact with him as though he's actually the robot. And then he goes and has $22 million of makeup and wardrobe that last a year.
I mean, that's the incredible thing is I never once got told not to hug him or like shake his hand. I could do anything with Sharlto, so it's just coming in and like, you know, doing an absolute like normal scene, and then they CGI'd over him. So you weren't restricted in any way either, were you?
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, in addition to the suit, I had a chest piece that just kept the proportions right. So I actually wore a similar thing to Chappie's chest, so that if I sat in a chair, I would sit the right distance, you know, proportionally in the
Yeah, and
so
also
that
so
was
like
all.
Dev's hands,
Yeah.
like anyone touching you would
touched me.
conform correctly.
Yes, we had like the little shoulder pieces that you see there. I had those.
And just tell the audience a little bit about your character, Dion, because you drive the movie along with Chappie.
Yeah, Dion's basically, I would say a lonely guy, you know? He doesn't have many friends. He works for this weapons company under Sigourney Weaver, and he's created the scout model that basically polices over Johannesburg, you know, and it's keeping it a safer state. Police are not dying, civilians are not dying anymore, but his interests don't really lie in making, you know, war machines in a way. He wants to create a companion or a friend, a machine that can love and write poetry, and, you know, so his motivations really lie in that. He thinks the next step in evolution is, you know, an artificially intelligent robot, a true artificially intelligent robot. So that's his driving force, and he goes into, you know, Sigourney's office one day to try and picture this idea after cracking, you know, the code to, you know, put into one of these machines, and she kind of very meanly ridicules me out of her office. So
No, that's not true. I just state very matter-of-factly that you work for a weapons corporation, and I can't really see the weapon purpose of a painting, poetry writing robot.
he pitched it kind of wrong. A little bit wrong.
But
he was
also
emotional. It was a late night. I had a lot of Red
You
Bulls.
also have two little robots who live at your house.
Yeah, that was cool. And because that was another thing. Rory and Dexter.
Dexter, yeah.
And which one was the one made out of the vacuum cleaners and stuff?
Dexter's made out of the vacuum cleaner parts.
Yeah,
and,
you know
and
those ones
PlayStation.
that you can program and they go around the floor cleaning it by themselves? They actually made one from these parts. So I'd walk in and he would greet me and go to the fridge and get me out a little Red Bull can. It was really cute.
Everyone's going to want one.
Yeah, little
honestly.
scene stealer. Yeah.
So we're in the age of policing, robot police policing the earth, and you want to make a robot that's like the Dr. Phil of robots. That's what you're trying to do. And Hugh Jackman's character doesn't like your character very much.
Yeah, he doesn't like me at all because he's built this very expensive, big robot that the government really doesn't want to fund, and my robot is getting all the attention from her. Yeah.
Very good investment of our money.
I don't get a big cut of that, my character, though.
No.
He lives very
You
humbly.
should have gotten a lawyer. I should have mentioned that, but I forgot to.
I want some back end on those.
Now,
In 20 years, maybe.
now Dev became a hot topic back in 2008 with the release of Slumdog Millionaire. But the director, Danny
I
Boyle...
was in Life of Pi.
Oh, yeah?
Wrong guy.
No.
My manager's just like...
What is this kid saying? But the director, Danny Boyle, actually discovered you from his daughter, who enjoyed watching you on Skins.
Yeah.
The show Skins. And
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
guys are familiar with the show Skins...
Oh, wait, you guys have seen Skins? Damn. Thank you.
So if you saw Skins, you definitely saw a lot of Dev.
There wasn't a lot of me back then, so...
What kind of show was that, dude? I never saw that.
The title says it
Skins?
all, Skins. Just,
Really?
you know.
He was in his
Doesn't
birthday
need a-
suit, Charlton, birthday suit.
Yeah.
So
that was awkward, man. A lot of that.
With that being said, since you already bared it all, is
Yeah.
there anything you won't do on camera?
Um,
Should I insert a growl?
what were you going to say, man?
No, I just, for people that don't know, a movie about skin where you see a lot of Dev and like what won't you do on camera? It just sounds
Really
like...
not.
Yeah. Sounds
30
crazy.
shades
Everyone's going to
of
Google Skin
grey.
after this.
No, man. I mean, that was a big break for me. My mum saw an audition in the back of a newspaper whilst going to work on the train. It's this free newspaper called The Metro, and on the back it was like this open article, you know, if you want to be on TV, no acting experience necessary, come to, you know, and it was like kind of being on American Idol. She dragged me along, and there's all these drama students doing their vocal warm-ups and stuff, and I'm queuing outside, with my mum and my school uniform, and I go in and read and get this job, which was crazy. And then Danny Boyle's daughter, he's traveling around the world, meeting all these agencies, India, New York, LA, London, and he couldn't find this guy that was, peculiar enough to play the lead in Slumdog. So his daughter one night, I was on TV and she was a fan, and she's like, "Dad, try this guy out." So that's how I got to audition for him.
Now here you are.
Yeah.
That's a great story. That's a fantastic
That's
story.
cool, yeah.
Now, before I throw it to the audience, because I know the audience, they have a lot of questions. One last thing. So now we briefly spoke about Hugh Jackman. He's described by Ryan Reynolds as a saint. He's one of the nicest guys ever. But he's the villain in this movie. How was he as a villain for you guys on set?
Well, I mean, for me on set, he genuinely is a saint. Like he is. I think Ryan Reynolds is right. I mean, it's kind of amazing how untainted he seems by Hollywood and fame. He's extremely down to earth and normal, and he's also very. He makes, I think, directors' jobs really easy because he comes up with a lot of really good ideas, and he kind of helps. It's just easy. It's very sort of pleasurable. And he's really talented. I mean, he's kind of like a perfect storm of good ingredients.
And he was willing to wear a mullet.
Yeah, that's true. As soon as the mullet,
doesn't
That's
affect his
dedication.
sex appeal at all. Like the woman still, even with the mullet, everyone was like,
Clips all the other men on set, even with his mullet, yeah.
Hugh Jackman with a mullet. Oh, man.
Everyone kept making jokes about on the set, the crew were like Wolverine versus Vickers from District 9. And he's so much fun. And one day, so we're doing this like fight scene, and I've knocked him down, and he's lying there, and he's like, ugh. And then he just looks at me, and he just transforms, and he goes like, ka-ching, like the Wolverine nails. And I jumped up, and I was like, "Don't point your fucking nails at me." Yeah.
The cast of Chappie, everyone. And now we'll start to take questions from the audience. Just stand, say your name, and ask your question.
Hello, my name is Mona. This is a question for the actors and the director. Actors, when you're in the audition room, there's so many nerves that go on. Any tips for auditioning? And to our director, anything that you look for in an actor that you say, aha?
okay, I'll just get out ahead of this first, because I didn't. For everyone here, there was no rehearsal, so that's kind of an interesting thing to do with Chappie specifically, I think. But every person was kind of a case of, if it wasn't them, I didn't know who. I really didn't know which direction I would turn. Like I said to Dev at lunch in LA, that it was like, remember, I told you, if you don't do it, I probably just don't know what I'll do then. I'll just kind of, because you can't get the actor out of your head. Yeah, it was more aggressive, really. But yeah, if you don't know who's going to play the role, then you're just looking for someone that, it tends to be that they sort of stand head and shoulders above everyone else. It's not like degrees of who should it be. There's always one just complete standout person, but that quality for me is really difficult to define. They just fit whatever subconscious thing you're looking for, role to role to role.
Shit, man, I'm touched now.
You knew that,
dude.
Yeah.
buddy. You knew that.
I'm gonna start crying after this backstage.
I have a tiny piece of advice that I learned, which is, I would say, don't worry at all about what they're looking for. You can't worry about that. All you can do is go in and play the hell out of the part for 5 minutes. And that way, you may not be right, but they'll remember you, and if you're not right for that part, they may cast you in something else. And the main thing is for you to have fun and get out there and not be worrying about pleasing someone, because they often don't know what they want anyway. They only know when they see it. And for that, you have to be present and alive. And that's the main thing, I think.
Beautifully said.
Right here.
Hey, Neill. My name is Jacques. Nice to meet you all. This question's for you, Neill. I love District 9, and I'm sure so many other people did too. What's going on with District 10? The way District 9 ended up, with that mothership just coming in, and I was sold, and I'm ready to buy my tickets for the next one. So what's going on?
You know, I really want to make another one. Actually, I think I have a pretty good idea for another one. But the thing with filmmaking is that each of the films take like 3 years to make, and this film was shot in Johannesburg as well. And there's just, I think that I just want a little tiny bit more space between going back to doing that again. And I actually want to go back right away. If I could do each film in like a month, I would do many of them. But the problem is how long it takes. It means I've now taken 3 years away from some other idea. That's really the answer. So relatively soon, I really want to make one.
Next question, right over here.
Hi, I'm Angelina. Thank you so much for coming today. My question is, this film is coming at a very poignant time when police brutality is a big topic in the media. And I was wondering if this film has any relevant themes, in your opinion, about humanity and force and you know, this topic that we're all talking about.
Is that me? Okay. Well, there's two components, I guess, to the movie. There's the primary sort of driving force underneath it, which is the idea of consciousness and the idea of the soul and whether we are more than something that science can define. What is the soul? And when you start making a film about that, all of these kind of ancillary things get called in, like things like, you know, mortality and then the further out you go, because he's a robot, it starts touching on things that are kind of just relatively interesting to me that are in the back of my head. One of them is the whole drone warfare, sort of disassociation between soldier and warfare, and the result that has on the operator and on the combatant. And the second thing is the sort of automation of police and law enforcement. And that I think that within a decade or 2 decades, we'll definitely have the capability to do that. And it will be whether governments and municipalities want that or not. All of the police brutality stuff in the States is, there's sort of quite an interesting thing I noticed between South Africa and America, where in South Africa, the idea of armed robot police is a lot less satirical than it is here, because the country has a higher crime rate. And I think there are a lot of people there that actually, I had a lot of people tell me that they would vote for something like that, and they're kind of uncorruptible. In North America, it's viewed completely differently. It's viewed as like an oppressive force that can be, you know, who controls them, what rules do they adhere to. So it's just, to me, it's a very interesting debate, you know. But yeah, that's my answer.
We have time for one last question.
My question's for Neill. Where was your fascination with robots for this movie? Like, what sparked your attention to like humanize robots, and you know, where did the inspiration come from?
Well, it's kind of weird. Sometimes it's hard to pin down exactly where things come from, but the older I get, the more I realize that science fiction is just a way to talk about things that are interesting outside of science fiction. So this movie honestly is about the soul, and it's about the way that I view the world, which is like kind of that the world is violent and chaotic and bad things happen in it, but that within that there's a whole bunch of like beauty and souls that are born into it are kind of pure and uncorrupted, and then they grow older and things happen to them. So when I was thinking I wanted to make something about that, it's like a separate part of my brain that just is the genre filmmaker that likes popcorn movies with explosions and robots. And the robotic element is like a lens that you can sort of use to talk about actually things that are not more important, but have more weight to them than a film that's just about robotics. So it's actually not surface level. It's actually not about the interest in robotics. It's everything underneath it. Like, I think it's a non-realistic film in terms of AI, because it's not really about AI. It's about consciousness, like human consciousness. And I think a movie about artificial intelligence would play out totally differently. But having said all of that, I'm just like a nerd that loves robots. That's also the truth. Just be honest.
Thank you, audience, for your questions. Before I close, I'd like the sci-fi queen to tell the audience and the audience at home, why should they go see Chappie this Friday?
That's a big responsibility. I think it's a great movie. It's really original. It's too bad that, they're not letting teenagers see it because I think it's like every 14-year-old's dream movie. But I guess because of the language and, I don't know, maybe you see a flash of nudity. So anyway, it's R, but it's a great movie, original, brilliant performances, and you'll never see anything like it. And you'll fall in love with Chappie. So I would take the whole family. No kidding, really.
Impressive.
That being said, a huge thank you to our studio audience. A huge thank you to the cast of Chappie, Chappie himself, Sharlto Copley, director Neill Blomkamp, a.k.a. Robot Nerd, rising star Dev Patel, and of course Sigourney Weaver. I'm Kevin Thompson, a.k.a. Mr. Movie Phone.
A.k.a. Hustler.
A.k.a. Hustler. Log on to moviephone.com for theater listings and showtimes near you. Chappie, March 6th. See you at the next Build series.